In this first video on some more advanced techniques in Google Sheets, I'm going to show you how to use one of my favorite tools called conditional formatting. In this video, we're going to learn how to use conditional formatting both to change the background as well as font or other little features, as well as how to use custom formulas and wildcards. Let's get started. So I'm taking a look at my Amazon cart here. Now, what I've shown previously is that you can take a single cell and change the color of it. Just by changing and adding these little background rules. And of course, you can always undo by hitting Control and then backslash to undo that. What I'm going to show you how to do is conditional formatting. So this is something where it's automatically going to change the background depending upon what's in there. So for this first one right here, I'm going to select the data from C2 to C10. And I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go to conditional formatting down there. I could also go up to format and do conditional formatting this way. Same menu. Now, it's going to pop up here my little selectors for how I'm going to do this. So it's saying I'm going to do C2 to C10, and I'm going to change it. So right now the default is cell is not empty. I'm going to change that, and if I click it, I have lots and lots of options here. I'm going to change that to greater than, and I'm going to say anything greater than 1. So this means that anything that's going to be greater than 1 is going to have the following format styles. Here's what it's set up as the default, a light green highlight. I could change that to be bold, or italic, or striked through, or even multiple ones here. What I find myself doing the most often is changing the background color. It really makes the cell stand out. So let's go with fill color. I'm going to change that to yellow. I hit done, and now it's going to appear right here as my conditional format rules. Now, why this is better is that this means it's going to automatically change the background depending upon what I have going on with the foreground. Let's say I change this one if I want more than one Lego Death Star, and goodness knows I do. Let's say I put 2, it's going to automatically change that background to highlight that. If I go back down to 1, it's going to undo that. Here it's listed as 4. If I was to go to 1, it would stop that highlighting. So think of conditional formatting almost as automatic highlighting. Let's try another one here. And by the way, if you ever want to undo that, so you can see right here I have my selection up there. It even has this green border to show what it's highlighted. If I want to undo that, I'm going to hit the trash button to remove that rule. So let's remove that. Let's go over here to the price menu. I'm going to select this particular set of data here, so from B2 to B10, and I'm going to add a new rule. So again, I could just right click on conditional formatting or just click add rule. Again, I'm going to stick with single color. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change it, and I have lots of different things. I obviously can't go into all of those, but you can even do date and whatnot here. We're going to do anything that's greater than 100. So anything that's over $100 is going to get highlighted as, let's go with this middle red here. So now when I'm done here, we can see everything that's over $100 got highlighted red. Now let's say I want to apply this to over here as well, my unit total. So here's what you can do. I'm going to select this cell and I'm going to hit my Paint Format button. Now it's essentially going to be copying all that formatting, and if I just drag it and release it over there, it's going to have copied along with that the conditional formatting. It obviously took the borders as well, which wasn't what I was intending, but whatever. But now I can see that all of that has been applied over there. So let's change my unit. So let's change that to be 4, and you'll see that it brought that price up above that $100 mark. So this is the exact same rule now that I have from here to here is also applied over there. And if I highlight it up here, you can see that I have green boxes around the areas that it's done. So with Paint Formatting, it's very, very easy to copy all your conditional formatting over. I'm going to hit the trash button to undo that. One other thing you can do, if you ever have your conditional formatting and you don't want it, with the Control and Backspace button, you can clear off your formatting. So now, what I was having, it was doing B2 to B10, but because I undid it for that particular cell there, that one no longer has the conditional formatting. So I can do that for a large chunk by selecting and hit Control Backspace and undoing the formatting there, or you could have just manually gone up there and hit the trash button to remove that conditional formatting rule. Now what you might notice is that when I add a rule here, I've got a lot of white space down here. That's not by accident. So let's add a rule here. I'm going to select that. I'm going to add my conditional formatting rule, and I'm going to do the one I did before, greater than 100, and let's say that's going to be that light color red. Now I can add another rule. Currently I have one rule set up here, but I can have multiple ones. I'm going to add a new rule. And I'm going to say, if it's greater than 200, I want it to be that bright crimson red right there. And I'm going to hit done. Now you may be wondering, well, wait a minute, we just set that up. This one should be highlighted, but that one shouldn't be. But the problem is this hierarchy right here. The thing that's always listed at the very top of your conditional format rules is the one that takes precedence. When these two are in competition, and they are in this particular cell here, this one is going to win out. But of course, it doesn't have to stay that way. What you'll notice is that when I mouse over it, it highlights at a slightly darker color, and I get these little dots here. This allows me to drag this up and over the other one here. Now, this particular rule is going to take precedence over that one. This is the one that is going to overrule that one whenever there is a conflict. Now, they don't always necessarily have to have a conflict. I could change that to, instead of having this format style there, I could have it go bold. Now that's not really in conflict, and these can kind of coexist in both of these, and it won't affect it. But just remember, if there's ever two rules that are competing, the one that's on top is the one that always overrules. You could add lots and lots more rules here, but always it's the top, then this one, and then this one, etc., on down. The higher it is, the higher precedence and priority it takes. And again, if you ever want to delete one, just hit the trash button to remove that rule. Let's try some conditional formatting now with something that's not just a pure number. So here I have just some fake data that was created from this website right here, and I want to take a look at the email. Some of these fake email addresses, before you send any emails to them, some are Hotmail, some are Yahoo, some are Gmail, and so on. What we can do right here is I'm going to select this entire column, and I'm going to add a conditional formatting rule. So I'm going to right-click and do conditional formatting. I'm going to do it now, text contains. And let's say we only want to get Gmail addresses. So if the cell contains the word Gmail, let's say we're going to highlight it to yellow. So now what I'm doing, instead of highlighting by a number, a greater than or less than, it's actually going to be searching each one. And if I was, of course, to make a change, let's say this one was at Yahoo, but we changed that, now that one is going to be highlighted as well. So it's something that you can do with more than just numbers. You could also do it searching each set of You could also do it searching each cell for a particular phrase. We got a couple other options here. I'm going to go in and change this. First it was saying contains. I could of course do text starts with. And let's change it from Gmail. Let's do anything that starts with the letter E. Now that's going to get highlighted with there. I could of course be a little bit more complex. I could do anything starting ED or EB or EL. Obviously in a much longer data set this might be really handy for you, but I can search with that. I could do something here, text does not contain, so I want everything that is not a Hotmail. Now it's highlighting only the ones that are Yahoo or Gmail. Anything that's Hotmail is not being highlighted. A lot of different options you have right here. The best thing I can tell you is play around with them. Try different things and you'll find it's pretty simple. One of the other really cool features is highlighting things. You don't necessarily have to be one color or the other. I'm going to go to my Star Wars Lego set, which is a pretty substantial data set here, detailing all the Star Wars Legos that have been built. And I'm going to highlight this particular row, and I'm going to do conditional formatting on this one here. Now, instead of doing just the single color tab, I'm going to take a look at this color scale right here. Now, I got a lot of different options. I'm going to go white to red, where I'm going to set the minimum value. In this one, we're going to go by percentage. In this one, I want to do percent. In this one, I want to do percentage as well. So what I'm looking at is the lowest percentage is going to be white colored, and the highest percentage is going to be this color here. And of course, I can change that. I'm going to go to my crimson and something that stands out a little bit more. And I'm going to hit done. So now I have a conditional formatting rule, but it's going to do different highlighting depending upon this. You could of course set this up manually, but it's nice to have this gradient right here. So when I deselect it, I can scroll down and it's obvious right now. You don't actually have to sit and read the numbers. You can really get a feel for the data just by looking at the highlighting that's gone on with that. Another really fun thing that you can do with conditional formatting is the idea of a wildcard. So I'm going to take a look at my Lego numbers here, and I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to add a conditional formatting rule. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to say text contains, but I'm going to do right here 7 question mark 1. Now this doesn't mean I don't know what I'm looking for here, but this is a wildcard. Now what Google Sheets is going to do is it's going to search for any character in between there. It could be 7 hashtag semicolon 1. It doesn't matter. Right now it's searching for 7 with any 2 characters followed by a 1. Let's change that to highlighted in yellow, and it's immediately obvious what's popping out. It's finding that exact same hit multiple times. Anything that starts with a 7 ends with a 1. Very, very simple wildcard to do. Now, let's say I don't know how many spaces there are in between there. In that case, we have another wildcard. It's called the asterisk. When I do this, it's going to search for 3, followed by 0 or more characters. It's kind of a weird one, but it's searching for 3 with anything in between there of any length. Maybe it's just the number 33, or it could be nothing at all, followed by a 3 at the end. So now it's searching for 3, anything in between, and another 3. And you'll see what it's hitting on. This one right here matches because there are 2 3s in there. You can scroll down and you can immediately see what's being hit. This one triggered because it's a 3 followed by anything after it. So I set it up to be pretty open-ended. It's essentially looking for 2 3s in there, non-consecutively, possibly, or consecutively. It doesn't matter. The wildcard is a really cool addition. Another thing I really liked is the ability to add custom formulas to your conditional formatting. Let's take an example here. Here I have my Kessel Run data. I have all these different individuals, all of them did the distance of the Kessel Run right there, and you can see the measurement. What I want to do is I want to highlight this row, but I want to highlight this row depending upon the data that goes in here. So your normal conditional formatting won't work because then it's only going to highlight those cells. Here I'm going to put in a custom formula based on what's going on in B. So I'm going to right click, conditional formatting, and I'm going to format cells if, and I'm going to go to custom formula is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the equal sign to demonstrate that I'm doing an equation here. And what I want to do is I want to highlight these cells here depending upon if the range of B to B, which is everything that's going to be in here, if that particular entry is less than, I don't know, for example, 12. I'm going to change that conditional formatting to yellow and hit done. I think, well, wait a minute, nothing's really done. Well, let's look at my complete data set. Obviously, nothing going on here, but if I scroll on down, this one right here is going to trigger because this was less than 12. Granted, it happens to be blank. Scroll on down a little bit more. Again, another blank one. Ah, there's the data that I'm looking for right there. Han Solo was the only one who was actually able to make the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. So here I have this particular cell filled in by that. If I, of course, was to change this data here, the conditional formatting is going to reflect that change. So even though I'm making the change here, this one has the conditional formatting dependent upon what's going on there. Let's try another one. I'm going to delete that, and now I'm going to highlight this particular one if this cell is empty. I'm a teacher, and this is actually something I use all the time when I want to see which students haven't done a test. The test data might be on the right side, and I have the students on the left. It's really nice to highlight the students that haven't done it. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to go to my conditional formatting, and I'm going to add a custom formula. I'm going to hit the equal sign, and I'm going to say if it is blank, and I'm going to be looking at the range B to B. I'm going to hit this, change it to be my nice bright yellow, and hit done. Now when I scroll down, the only ones that are going to be highlighted are the ones that happen to be blank. So here the conditional formatting. If this is blank, that will be highlighted. If I enter data there, that's an undo that. So it really allows you to just see which ones are complete and which ones aren't. Finally, one last really cool trick that I was able to find online is the ability to not only highlight this based on that, but I can do it based on what percentile that's in. What I'm going to do here is I'll do a quick demonstration. I'm going to highlight this row, right-click, conditional formatting, and what I'm going to do is, once again, I like going with yellow, it's just a little bit more visible for me. I'm going to go to custom formula is, and I just want to show this as a really cool demonstration. So I'm going to type this in. I'm going to be looking for a percent rank. Now, this one's a little bit complicated. I don't expect you to get it right away, though it's worth looking into. It's going to highlight this particular cell right here, dependent upon this one here, and dependent upon if this particular cell happens to be in the top 20th percentile. So I have it right here if it's greater than 0.8, so greater than 80% of all the rest. A really cool way to almost like highlight the ones that step out at you. So I'm going to close that down because my conditional formatting rules are in effect. And as I scroll down, I can immediately see the ones that happen to find themselves in the top 20% of all the rest. Rather than highlighting it right here and trying to look for it over here, it's automatically going to find that for you and highlight it for you. So now you can spend your time just looking at the entry that you want rather than having to deal with the numbers. Let Google Sheets look at the numbers while you look at the data, all those beautiful Star Wars sets that you want to get.